guys hear me okay? Yes? Perfect. Okay, awesome. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and get started on our training today for BoldTrail. If you guys can't hear me at any point in time, let me know. For today's training, I know that the system is new, so there's a lot of people that have questions and maybe still things that they're stuck on. So I would love for you guys to put in the chat what specifically you guys want me to cover today, and I'm gonna try my best to cover that so that you guys are able to see what you guys are needing help with. Today, I'm planning on covering a couple of things. I'm planning on covering how to create a transaction, where to find your documents, your company library, how to close out a transaction for you to be able to get paid, and how to find any documents that you guys need in order to use BoldTrail. So if you guys want to take this moment to put some questions in the chat so that you guys can let me know which specific questions you guys want to be answered today, that would be great. I'm going to let you guys do that first as I start sharing my screen. Okay, perfect. So I have a couple questions in the chat. I have, how do we cancel or avoid a signing request without deleting the document? Okay, perfect. I want to refresh how to get paid as well as getting documents. How do we CC team members so they get notifications when signed? I love it. Perfect. Okay. How can we upload multiple docs at the same time? Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and cover this. I'm going to start off as if we were doing a brand new transaction. And for the sake of just because of the amount of documents that are used, I'm going to pretend that I'm representing a buyer. And I have some sample documents here so that you guys can follow along. I'm not going to be using actual like contracts for like a specific property. I'm just going to use the sample ones that we already have in our school platform. So when you guys open up BoldTrail, this is what you guys can see. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. You would go here to this button that says create a transaction. You guys can do two things. Either you can create a new transaction or you can search the MLS. Just to show you guys how to do it from scratch, we're going to go with create new. When you guys create a new transaction, there are the things that are mandatory in order to continue with the process are going to be selected or are going to be highlighted in red. So I'm a buyer, I'm a buyer's agent. So I'm going to put that this is a traditional sale. I'm going to put that this is an active opportunity because it's active on the MLS. And I'm going to put that I'm representing a buyer. So as you can see, it asks me for a transaction name. You can name the transaction whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to label it 12345 Main Street, West Palm Beach, because that's where I'm located. Florida 33412, let's say. Okay, you guys can add the rest of the information as you guys want. However, it's not mandatory. Just for the sake of showing you guys what this looks like, we're just gonna continue on and we're gonna go next. This is the agents and commission section. So if you guys are representing the buying side, lifestyle automatically gets populated in here. Let's say that they're offering 2.5% commission. We're gonna put 2.5% commission. We're gonna go next. This section is where it asks you for your contact information. So let's say you haven't added the contact in yet. So I'm going to make up a buyer. I'm going to pretend I'm just going to make up a random name. Let's say Jane Doe or something like that. So I'm going to start typing in the buyer's name. It's going to be Jane Doe. And then I'm going to create new. Did you guys see what I did there? It asks you at the bottom of the screen, create new. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select what kind of client this is or what kind of contact it is. I'm going to select that this is my buyer. You can make this available to everyone or you can keep your contacts private. So obviously everybody shares BoldTrail within your office. So if you guys select everyone, then everybody from your office will have access to your contact. If you want it to remain private, you would select me only private. So in this case, let's make up an email for Jane Doe. Let's say it's janedoe@aol.com. You guys can add her phone number in here. You guys can add her company, whatever information. This is your contact. BoldTrail can even serve as your CRM in a way. So if you guys want to have all of your contacts information in here, I highly recommend that you do that. You can even put the kind of lead source that you got it from, whether it was a referral, whether it was from a real estate website lead, whether it was a postcard, a door hanger, an open house. That way you also can keep track of where your clients are coming from. For the sake of just continuing, I'm going to put here that it was a referral and it is assigned. You don't necessarily have to assign it since you are creating the transaction. It automatically gets assigned to you into the transaction that you are creating. I have a couple people. Yes, lifestyle. They're helping me out here, and they're saying that for any issues that you guys have with lifestyle, with BoldTrail specifically, we have a designated email for this. So you guys can either take notes, take a screenshot. It is boldtrailsupport@lifestyleir.com. If you guys have questions about where to find something, if you guys have issues with logging in, if you guys have any issues or questions or anything at all regarding BoldTrail, that is your designated email so that you guys know where to find it. Okay. Alrighty, so moving on, let's create this transaction. I have the address, I have the contact information. I'm going to go ahead and create it. If I wanted to add another contact, I could go add contact and then add whoever. For the sake of the example, we're just going to assume that Jane Doe is the only buyer. We're going to go next. This is super important. Checklist settings. This is where you guys can select what checklist you guys will need for the transaction. As I mentioned to you guys, this is a buyer, right? However, there are multiple things that a buyer can buy. They can buy a condo, they can buy a single family home or townhouse, they could be leasing a property, they could be doing a bunch of stuff. So it's important that you guys are selecting the correct checklist, because if you upload the incorrect checklist, then that's when you try to close out your transaction at the end, when you're trying to get paid after closing and you're trying to submit your file for review for our back office to approve and to pay you out, they're not going to, because you did something wrong, and then they're going to have to kick it back or reject it and say, hey, you missed it, you didn't do the right one, or you missed a document because you didn't use the right checklist. So it's super important that you guys are reviewing what checklists are available so that you're ensuring that you're selecting the correct checklist. If Jane Doe was purchasing a condo, then I would have to go to not listing for lease, not listing for sale condo. It would have to be sales residential, and it would have to be sales condo. Does that make sense? Sometimes we have been noticing a lot that agents get confused between listing for sale and sale. If you're representing the seller, then it's going to be listing. So if it was a listing, then I would put listing for sale condo. But since this is a buyer, I would put sales condo. Do you guys see that difference? Super important for you guys to be able to select the correct checklist. In this case, I'm just going to go with she's buying a single family home. So it would be sales. No, I'm good. Thank you. It would be basically sales residential. So this is the checklist that you guys would select. So we would go hit create. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt. Feel free to butt in if you guys have any questions as I'm going through this. Okay, I'm going to go through all of the questions that you guys are putting in the chat towards the end. And if you guys have any others that you guys want to go through, we can cover them then. So this is what the transaction looks like once you create it. There are two different sections where you can find documents. The first is the checklist that you just imported. This is the checklist of all the documents that are needed for payment. So once you close the transaction, this checklist is basically your guide to know what documents our back office needs in order to pay you out. Okay, so of course, if you're representing a buyer, we need your buyer broker agreement. We need the executed contract. We need the seller's disclosure, the escrow letter, the MLS listing, the HUD, the commission deposit or wire receipt to lifestyle, and the commission request form. So as you guys can see, you guys can access the documents either through the checklist. As you guys can see, there's a use forms button right here, or you guys can also select documents or use documents through your documents button. There's a documents button right here. And when you click on that button, there is another button that pops up right under it that is unsorted. That is where you would go to put any document for this transaction that doesn't belong on the checklist for payment. I highly recommend that you guys keep it clean and organized and upload all of your unsorted or not necessary documents for checklist in this unsorted folder. All the documents that are going to be uploaded to your checklist, only keep them in your checklist because those are the ones needed for payment. Okay, so those are the two sections where you guys are going to be needing to upload documents. Okay, so let's just remember that for a second. Since I'm the buyer's agent, I would need to do a buyer broker agreement and I would need to send an offer with an as-is contract. So let's just go through the motions. I'm not going to go through the contracts, doing the contract for the sake of time. What I want to show you guys is how to use the platform. Everybody should know how to do a buyer broker agreement or an as-is. And if you don't, then that's a training for a separate. We have other trainings available for you guys so that you guys know how to do those. But for today, we're going to cover just how to use, where to find items in BoldTrail. So if I wanted to use a form or just start a buyer broker agreement from scratch, I would go on my checklist since it's already here, and I would go to use forms. As you can see, the buyer broker agreement or the exclusive buyer broker agreement transaction broker, which is the one that we should be using always, is already populated there. So the next thing that you want to do is just hit next. Now, let's say that you're the type of agent, because I know there are agents that sometimes send the BBA once you send the offer. Let's say that you want to send all of the documents at once. There is a way in BoldTrail for you to do that. So if you guys see right underneath where it says exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, it says add more forms and attach a document. So in this case, we're not attaching any documents because if we were the listing agent, we were getting this document, then we would need to upload it, and that would be a different story, which I'll go through that in a little bit. But in this case, what you guys would have to do is add more forms. So let's say that I wanted to send this buyer. She's ready to go. I had her sign a showing agreement, but not a buyer broker agreement. So then I need to send her a buyer broker agreement, an as-is contract, and any pertaining addenda to that contract, right? So then what I would do is I would select add more forms. When you hit add more forms, this is what pops up. And this is where you can find our company library that has all of the documents that you would need, both addendas, contracts, and our personal company documents as well. As you can see, your company library pops up that has any document that you need from our company specifically, such as the broker's license. If you guys ever need the broker's license, it pops up right here for you. If you ever need a commission request form, which you will need to close out the transaction, it is right here. We have a rental version and we have a sale version, and they automatically populate or calculate the amounts for you here so that you don't need to do it yourself. We have a direct deposit authorization form here for you. If you ever need to change the account to which lifestyle pays you your commission, you would fill out this form and send it to the respective person that's in charge, which would be either Jessica or Roberto Guzman. If you ever need to use an invoice, I know some of my leasing agents are familiar with needing an invoice for a transaction in order to get paid by a complex or by an apartment building or by a community. You would grab your invoice from here. If you ever need an MLS area map, they're all here. A status change form, a W-9, a walkthrough checklist, and most important of all, which all of us will need at some point to share with title companies to get paid, is your wire and deposit confirmation. Every single office has their wire instructions within their company library within BoldTrail. So since my office is West Palm Beach, if I ever needed wire instructions to send to the title company, I would go to my company library, and that's where my wire instructions for my particular office are located. Okay, so that's company library. As you can see, there are two different tabs when you select more forms. You have company library, and then you have the FAR. When you guys click on FAR, that is where you would find all of your addendas, all of your contracts, and any other documents. So back to my example. I am needing to send the as-is with my BBA. The BBA is already populated on there. I want to send my as-is contract, and let's pretend that this house is older than 1978. So I'm going to need a lead-based paint, and I'm going to need a compensation. Let's pretend, just to simplify, we don't need an HOA addendum. We don't need anything like that, just to simplify. When you hit FAR, you can click on this little search bar and search for the specific document you need. Now, again, I could have done this directly on the checklist as well, and the as-is contract would have already been populated there for me. But if you're the kind of client or agent that wants to send all of the documents at one time, you can do that. So that's what I'm showing you in this moment. So let's look for the as-is contract. When you put as-is in your search bar, it should say as-is residential contract, and then you select it. Perfect. Now let's say that I want to look for my lead-based paint. I already selected it. Now I exit out. I type in again, lead-based paint, lead-based, and I have my lead-based paint here. So I'm making sure that this is the one I want. Yep. We even have one here with the actual lead-based paint brochure. That's why it's 21 pages. I just want the one that's one page. So I select that. Great. I selected it. Now I'm going to hit exit again. Now I want my compensation agreement. Let's include my compensation agreement. you look for compensation, and then you have the two compensation agreements that are available to you. This is the one for leasing. This is the one for sales. So I want the one for sales. I'm going to select it. Once you're done looking for all or selecting all the documents that you want to send as one signing package, then you would go to this bottom button right here that says select. As you can see, now I can see in what order the documents are going to appear. I can rearrange the order in which the documents will appear. I have added my BBA, my as-is, my lead-based paint, and my compensation, right? So let's say that I don't want the BBA to be the first thing that the client sees. I want them to see the as-is, the lead-based paint compensation, and last the BBA. We could do that. I can move this. I can just grab it, drag it down, and it allows me to rearrange the order in which the client is going to sign or see the documents, right? So let's pretend that all done. This is what I want to send to my client. I would hit next. My client's information is already on here. If I want to add any other signers, I can. I can do that right here. If I don't have any other signers, in this case, I know I'm going to be a signer because I'm the buyer's agent. So I'm going to add myself as a transaction as the buyer's agent. And if there's anybody else that you want to add, let's say you want to add George or whatever to sign the BBA or the BBA and the compensation agreement or anything like that, you can do so here. You can add more contacts in this section. I'm going to hit next. I'm just adding Jane, my buyer, and me, myself. Let's pretend that this document was already all filled out. You guys should know how to actually edit the document because that is very user-friendly. As you guys know, all of the boxes are already populated on here. You guys could add whatever you guys need here. Let's pretend that this has already been filled out, okay? And that this is ready to be sent for signing. The neat thing about BoldTrail is that you don't need to add any signature boxes or initial boxes because it's already populated for you for every single contract or addenda that you guys use. Okay. So now you do have tools. You guys, let's say that you guys wanted to add additional verbiage to a specific section. You guys have a text box that you guys can add. Let's say I wanted to add more text box here. I could add more text box. Let's say I want to add a money sign. You can add that there. Let's say that you need to strike through something because you don't agree with it or you're going to have your client initial or it's like something that's being negotiated. You can have that too. If there's something that you need to check box, you guys could check box it. If you need to add an additional signature box, you can. If you need to add an initial, you can add it. And then if you need to add the date and time, then you can add that as well. Those are all of the tools that BoldTrail gives you. Now, something that you guys do need to know and be aware of is that if you guys want to change, obviously it's already populated. It shows buyer 1, it shows buyer 2, and it shows buyer 3. Obviously, I don't have 3 buyers. I only have Jane. I only have the 1 buyer. So you can leave this as is. You don't have to edit this at all. You can leave it as it is populated. I know that I only have 1 buyer. So once I am ready to send this for e-signature, let's pretend it's ready to go. You're going to go to the save and close, but you're not going to hit save and close. You're going to hit the arrow right next to it that says the downwards arrow. Once you click that, a drop-down menu pops up and it's going to give you 4 different options. It's going to give you the option to send it for e-sign. It's going to give you the option to download it, to print it, or to discard changes. So if it's something that you're not ready to go yet and you're not ready to send for signature yet, then you would just save and close it to save your work. If it's something that you just want to download and you're going to have your client wet sign, then you download it. If you want to print it, you can print it. But if I want to send for signature, I would click send for e-sign. This is what pops up once you're ready to send for signature. Now, I had a client, somebody in the chat mentioned, had a question for me. I think this is the time for me to answer it. 1 second. It was team member. How do we CC team members so they get notifications when signed? And how can we upload multiple docs at the same time? I think I answered the how to upload multiple documents, but there's another way. So I'll show you that, Shelly. But how to CC team members, that's where I'm going to show you. When you're ready to send a document for e-signature, you're going to include your client or your other fellow agents here. So as you guys can see, I have a bunch of stuff in red here because there's a lot of agents or fields that are not filled, which is fine. I don't need the broker, so I'm going to exit out. I don't need the buyer broker, so I'm going to exit that. I don't have a second buyer. I don't have a third buyer. The listing agent will sign on their own. The seller is going to sign on their own. The broker will sign on their own. So we're going to just exit all of those out. This is where you guys can edit how the email will look like for the client. So let's say that I want to label this offer for, sorry about that. Let's say that I want to label this offer 12345 Main Street. And then you can edit the body. You can edit the body that says whatever you want it to say. Mine is a template that is already pre-filled out that says Yolanda Guerra has prepared your documents that need your signature. You guys can delete this and add your own verbiage. You guys can do whatever you guys want. Now, to answer your question about how I can CC team members, there is a button right here when you're sending for signature that says add CC recipients. So I'm gonna click on that. If you want to add an agent that's already within BoldTrail, you would select another person. And normally, if you start typing in their name and they're already registered with BoldTrail, they should automatically pop up. So let's pretend I want to CC my team member, Marco Hernandez. I'm going to look for Marco, and he's already there. Let's say I wanted to add another team member. I would select another person, and then you can start typing in the person's name. Now, let's pretend that the person's name isn't already saved. That's okay. Let's say that I need to add, I don't know, Tom Gerald or something like that. I can create a new transaction, just add their email, and they will also be CC'd. Now, they won't be CC'd in the e-signature request. If they have nothing to sign, they won't be CC'd on that. They will only receive a CC of when the document has been fully executed by all parties that were sent the invitation to sign. Does that make sense? So if you add a CC, it's for them to see it once the signing has been fully signed. Then the next thing that you would do is hit sign and send. Obviously, I have a fake email in here, so I don't want to send that one. If you want to edit, let's pretend, just so that you guys know how that works. Let's say that you guys wanted to change the janedoe@aol.com. Let's pretend I made a mistake and it's not AOL, it's actually Gmail. I would click on her name and it pops up, her contact information pops up again. So I can edit this and I can just put the correct janedoe@gmail.com. And that's how I would fix a mistake that I made in the past. Okay. Now, obviously, this is a fake email, so I'm not going to send this for signature. But the next thing that you guys would do is you guys would put sign and send. Once you guys, it's going to tell you sign and send because as the agent, you have to sign portions of the documents, such as the BBA, such as the buyer broker agreement. I'm sorry, such as the compensation agreement. So you're going to have to sign your portion and then your client will sign theirs. If you guys want to assign a specific order in which the emails are going to be sent for signature, like for the e-sign request, you guys can assign order. There's a button here that says assign a signing order. So if you guys do want to do that, let's say that I wanted to make sure that Jane signs first and then I'm the last person to sign, then I can put assign order and then I can drag what order I want the signing request to be sent out. Mind you, if you do click assign signer order, then that means that you wouldn't be able to receive the second person wouldn't receive the signing request until the first person is the one that signs. Okay. So if you don't want that hassle and you just want everybody to sign at the same time, then I wouldn't click assign signer order. I would only leave it as is. And then I would hit sign and send. Okay. That is how you guys would send a signing package of multiple documents through BoldTrail to a client. Okay. Now I'm going to hit cancel and I'm just going to hit save and close because obviously I'm not going to send that for signature. Once
A
you
quick question on that.
Yep.
If you don't do the assigning order, you as an agent, if you need to sign, you will automatically have to sign
You will
prior.
automatically have to sign. Yes. But if it was
Right.
somebody else, if it was like, for example, two buyers and you hit an assigning order, let's say it's a husband and wife, and you send it to Charles first and then to Betsy, for example, then Betsy wouldn't get it until Charles signs.
Right. So just FYI on that, if
Oh, yeah.
you're
If
an
it's you,
agent
if
and
it's
you
you,
don't want to sign first, put it in recipient order, especially if you're sending out for a listing agreement or things of that nature that I
correct,
typically don't like to sign first. I like to sign last.
correct.
So
And
if you
in
don't
that
click
case,
that, you will sign.
yeah. And in that case, you could also just avoid adding yourself altogether and you can just sign it after the fact. But the only thing is that if you do it that way, then you will have to put each initial, like once you upload a document, it doesn't automatically populate all of the signature and initial boxes for you. So then the agent would have to go in and put the individual boxes, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Does
that's
anybody
the
have
only
any?
sucky part about it.
That's
Yep.
the only bad thing about it. BoldTrail is great. It's just I'm hoping that they're working on that because I know that with Transaction Desk we did have the layouts where we could apply a layout for a particular document. Unfortunately, we don't have that yet. However, I will show you a loophole that I found where you can copy and paste to make it at least a little bit quicker and not have to do individual initial boxes. This is specifically important, or at least super beneficial to listing agents when they receive a counter offer, and then they have to upload the as is contract that they received from a buyer's side, and they're going to have to input every single initial and signature box. And it sucks because then at that point, you can miss a box, something like that can happen. So yeah, you just got to be extra careful. And I'm thinking that, and I'm hoping that they're going to work on something to upgrade that, if that makes sense. Does anybody have any other questions at this point that I can help answer before I show you guys the next thing? Are we good? I do have a couple questions in the chat, so let me just check that. Can a couple sign with the same email? Yes, they can. They can sign with the same email. They'll just receive two different signing requests to the same email, pretty much. A referral form, Clara, you can find it in the company library. So if you ever needed to find any kind of documents, you could go to the documents unsorted, where it says add a document. Why do I keep getting calls? Where it says add a document, you would put use forms, select first form, and then in your FAR tab, that's where you would search for whatever document you're looking for. In this case, referral, you would look for referral. There you go. Okay. You would go in your documents unsorted section in order to find it. Let me
I,
see if I
I,
have that together. Yeah.
I have a quick question on the
Yeah.
offer letters, the
Uh-huh.
CTLs. When you send an offer letter out and it gets signed, if I wanted an email that CTL over to the, let's say, to a listing agent, how can I add documents within the offer letter, or do I have to move it over and assign it so I can email it to a listing agent?
I'm not understanding your question. Sorry.
Okay,
So
so
you're saying,
when you go to the offer, right? When you
yeah,
go sending out an offer letter,
right here.
and
Like,
then
are you talking about in the offer section?
right. So
Okay.
you send out a CTL, let's say to your buyers or your renters. They sign
Yeah.
it. Once it's signed, sometimes I need to send it out to the listing agent, letting them know,
What,
hey, here's the signed CTL. Here's the offer
what,
that was signed.
yeah. What you can do is you can just CC them, and then when the client sign, they'll automatically get an email from BoldTrail saying, "Hey, this document has been signed." So that you could do that. You can CC them, but when you're sending the e-signature request to your clients, just make sure that you put CC recipient, and then you would add that listing agent's information so that they receive it. However, if that's the case, they'll just receive the CTL with no other documents.
Yeah,
And
that my issue is sometimes they want all the other documents, like the supporting proof of income and everything else. So I
correct.
always gotta, you know,
Yeah,
move it
at
out.
that
I have to
point,
download it, then go
yeah.
in to unsort it, and then do it that way. Is that the only way to do it?
Um, that I'm aware of at this moment, yes. I would have to play with the create offer, to see if there's a way, unless you like upload everything and there's a way. As of now, yes, that's the only way that I know of, where it would send everything to them, including the rent spree, let's say the rent spree report, their pay stubs, their bank statements, their IDs and other supporting information. You could definitely send them the CTL by itself, but the other documents wouldn't be able to be sent. At least not that I
Okay.
know of. Unless somebody knows something I don't. But as of now, that's the only way that we would have. I know that there is an email that is attached to this offer section, where you can create it. And I believe if you do upload documents, I would have to play with it though. So
Yeah, I tried adding documents. It wouldn't let me. I had to always download, wait for them to
yeah,
sign, download it, bring it
yeah,
over to the unsorted, and then do it that way so I can send the offer
exactly.
letter with all the supporting docs. Okay, no
Exactly. That's
problem.
the only way that I know of as of now, unfortunately. But according to them, we can always recommend, like there's this need help. And sometimes you can tell them, hey, this would be a great feature to add. And they're constantly looking at those requests for, the improvement of the overall platform. So I think it would be a great thing if it's something that you agree collectively that should be added, that you can tell them, hey, you guys should add this when you go to the need help. hmm Any other questions at this moment in time before I continue?
Nope, you're doing a great job.
Okay, perfect. Let me just make sure I've covered everything in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna cover how to get paid in just a second. How can we cancel or void a signing request without deleting the document? I love it. Let me send myself something to e-sign. I'm gonna send myself this. Instead of sending it to Jane Doe, I'm gonna send it to her. So I saved and closed this document. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna edit/e-sign it. So I'm gonna click on that. Instead of Jane Doe, I'm gonna put my email because I don't want to send it to a random email that doesn't exist or maybe does exist. I don't know. So I'm gonna just send it to myself. So both of these should go to me. I'm gonna hit next. Just to show you how to void a signature without deleting the document. I'm gonna go to send for e-sign. I'm gonna exit out of all the ones I don't need. And then boom, I'm just gonna send it. Sign and send. It's gonna ask me to sign and send because I'm the agent and the buyer. At least my email is. So I'm just gonna adopt and initiate. Type initials, adopt and initiate. It's gonna make me sign everything. At least you guys know what the signing process looks like, for the sake of showing you how to void a document without deleting it or avoiding the signing. So this is what your buyer sees when they're signing. So if they ever need help, you can tell them, hey, there should be a start button. There should be, you should click on everything. There's a next button. The next button takes you to all of your signature boxes. I'm going to go next. I'm going to sign this. 1, 2, 3, signature next. Oh my goodness, this is so many signings. Next, next. Okay, good. I think I'm done. Finish. I'm going to agree and I'm going to finish. I'm Jane Doe for today. Okay, so I signed it as the agent, but this sent it to me as a buyer. So what am I going to do now? What I'm going to do if I want to void the document, where can you see the signature status? Obviously, you guys see that there's this little feather here, this orange feather. It says waiting for signatures. That's like your little symbol that you receive whenever you've sent something for signature. All right, so if I want to check the status of the signing, I click on e-signatures. Where it says e-signatures, as you can see, it says that Jane Doe signed. I'm still missing, but it was sent to me. So you guys can see that this is sent. If I need to, let me show you first how to change the email. Let's say that you accidentally had a typo in the email and need to change it. You would click on this 3 buttons right here, and you would either resend it. Sometimes your clients are like, I didn't receive it. So then you can either resend it or you can hit change email. If you need to change the email, you would change it that way. Now, let's say that you're like, oh my God, I made a mistake. I sent the wrong thing. Let me restart the whole signing. You guys, in order to void a signing without deleting it, you would go to restart e-signing. Okay, now it asks you a specific question. It asks you, do you want to keep the existing signatures or do you want to void them? If you hit void, it's going to basically delete all of the initials, everything that was already signed, because Jane Doe already signed. If you hit void, her signature will be completely deleted. Now, if you want to keep Jane Doe's and just want to change what is going to be done for, Yolanda's signature in this case, then you would keep the existing, meaning you would keep Jane's, and then you would continue. If you keep, this is the only thing though, if you keep the existing signatures, it won't let you edit the document anymore. It'll be as you sent it. And what Jane Doe signed, that's what you're going to have to work with. Now, if you want to void all signatures, meaning you want to start from scratch, you're going to hit continue. When you do that, it takes you to the document. I'm going to go back to next. It takes you back to the document. So it's as if you never sent it for e-signature at all. So if you made a mistake that you need to fix, you can fix it without losing the document itself. And then what you would do is you would hit save and close. You don't want to do anything that would risk losing the document. Now, something that's pretty neat about BoldTrail, you may think that you lost the document, but if you go back to use forms within the transaction that you created, it should already have the information already populated on it. It doesn't always work, but as you can see, let's pretend, I'm going to just show you for the sake of showing you. I'm going to unassign this, right? Let's pretend that it disappeared, right? But in this transaction, I already have an as-is, a lead-based paint, and a compensation agreement that I already filled out. And you're like, oh my God, I deleted it. No, it actually is still there. You just have to look for it again and reintegrate it into the transaction. So let's say that I want to go back to my BBA. I go to next. And as you can see, it should still be filled out, whatever I filled out on it. It should still save it. Unless you did something that totally deleted it, then okay. But majority of the times, if you save and close something, it should still pop up for you, if that makes sense. Okay, I want to also get into where I would go to find, all actually, I already covered that. So what I want to do, just really quick, let's say that I needed to upload a bunch of documents to sign at the same time. What I would do, I don't know about you guys if you're this tech savvy, but what I do, let's pretend that I need to upload, I'm going to say these 3 documents. I'm just grabbing random documents from my files. Okay. Let's pretend I need to upload all those 4 documents. As you can see, I have them highlighted. Something neat that you can do with BoldTrail is you can just grab the highlighted documents from your files, and what you're going to do is you're going to just drag them. Once you drag them, they all get imported into your unsorted folder because these are not documents that have been assigned to your checklist yet. Now, let's pretend that these documents are documents that need to go on your checklist. There's this button here that says assign to, and then you can assign it to any of these documents in your checklist. Let's pretend that this was my commission request form. Or no, actually that's escrow letter. I'm going to assign it to my escrow letter. It disappears from unsorted, but because it gets assigned to my checklist. So now you can see escrow letter is there. I'm going to go back to unsorted. Let's pretend that this is my as-is contract, my executed purchase contract. I'm going to assign to purchase contract. And that's how you assign documents in your unsorted folder into your checklist. And this is how you would upload everything in order to get paid. All right. So I want to go back to my unsorted because there's a couple of tools in here that you guys can use as well that I want you guys to know of. Let's say that these 3 remaining documents, I need to convert into one single PDF. How would I do that? Or let's say you need to delete it altogether. You would go to edit, and you can either rename the document, you can delete it altogether, or you can merge it. So let's hit merge. Let's pretend that I want to add this extension with this addendum and with the BBA. I added all these 3 documents together because I want to merge them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to relabel this, I don't know, merged document. Let's pretend it's an addendum or something for the sake of the example. I'm going to merge. Once you do that, now you created a document, if I click on it, that has all 3 documents merged together. And now if you need to edit this and send for e-signature as one single document, you can do that. How would you do that? You would go to e-sign. Once you click on e-sign, you can select the signers, you would go next, and then you would add whatever documents you need to change. Let's pretend that for whatever reason, I don't know, we're gonna cross off, we're gonna counter, let's pretend that you're the listing agent and you need to cross this off. I'm gonna cross this off, and I'm gonna add that I really don't want $0 for this property. I actually want 500,000 for this property. I'm gonna make the change. I crossed off of the change I didn't want, and then I'm gonna add an initial. It doesn't allow me to do it now because I didn't add a signer. Let's pretend that you're already in this point and you need to add a signer. How would I do that? I would go to settings. I would go to signers and parties, and it would allow me to add a signer. So I'm going to go next. And now it allows me to do the initial. So I'm going to go back to the change that I was making. Right here, it's still there, saved. I'm going to hit initial. And so now Jane Doe can initial that the seller countered back at 500,000. Does that make sense? Now, let's say that you wanted to add another document to this merge document. You could go to settings, you could go to forms and documents, and you can add more forms. Let's say that you missed another document that you wanted to add. You can add another one. You can go to FAR and look for whatever document you need. Let's pretend it's an addendum. I'm going to do addendum to contracts. That would be addendum to contract. I'm going to select, and now you have these 2 documents together. I'm going to go next, and now it should be 4 documents in one. If I go all the way to the bottom, my addendum that I just added should be here, and there it is. And I can edit it. I can do whatever I want. So when you're already within the e-signing request, you can already edit something. If you made a mistake, you can edit it. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to hit save and close. So hopefully that answered your question. You guys have many tools within BoldTrail. You guys can edit the document. You guys can rename it. Let's say that this merge document, I don't like that name. I'm going to change it. I'm going to rename it to addendum. Oh, let's pretend it's a post-closing occupancy. I don't know. Just for the sake of the example, post-closing occupancy for 12345 Main Street. Renamed. You just renamed it. You can name it whatever you want. Let's say that these 3 are trash now because I made this merge document. I'm going to go ahead and delete. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this. That way you maintain your BoldTrail transaction organized. That way you only have documents in here that you absolutely need. And if you ever need to upload documents to close to your checklist, you would upload them all here. Now, how do I close out a transaction to get paid? In order to get paid, you have to have something uploaded or exempted on this checklist. So I've uploaded my BBA. I've uploaded my purchase contract. Sometimes, obviously, sellers' property disclosures are not mandatory for every transaction. Some are optional. Let's pretend for this transaction, Jane didn't receive a seller's disclosure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the button exempt. You can't leave it blank. If you guys leave it blank, back office will kick it back. You have to have some kind of explanation as to why there's no document there. Before, in transaction desk, you would have to upload a document that said, I did not have a seller's disclosure for this transaction, and upload that. You don't need to do that anymore. Now what you can do is just hit exempt and you're good. Now let's pretend I added my escrow letter. I'm going to upload my MLS listing copy. I'm just going to hit upload, and let's pretend that this is the document. I'm going to hit open. Boom, I uploaded that document. Let's pretend I'm going to upload my HUD. I'm going to go to upload, and then I'll go to upload another document. Let's pretend it's this. I'm going to upload that. The commission deposit title should be sending you some kind of wire confirmation, or if you received the check, you should be depositing the check into Lifestyle's account and have a receipt. You either need a receipt or a wire confirmation from title that the money was sent to Lifestyle. So what you guys are going to need to do is upload that receipt here. Let's pretend that that's this. I'm going to just do this seller net sheet example. Open. And basically I'm uploading everything that I need. Now let's pretend that I need to do my commission request form. I've uploaded all the needed documents. What I would need to do now is my commission request form. So where can I get my commission request form? I'm going to go to my right-hand side where it says use forms. I can find my commission request form in my company library. So I'm going to go to use forms, select first form. I'm going to go to company library. As you can see, we have a company library where all the commission request forms are already there. So you're going to hit commission request forms. In this case, it was a sale. So I'm going to hit sale and I'm going to hit select. We would go next. No signers are needed for the commission request form. You're just filling it out. So you go next. You end up filling this out. I'm going to say Yolanda Guerra. You guys got the gist. A sale. I represented the buyer for 12345 Main Street. You're going to add the buyer, the seller, who the cooperating brokerage was, the title company. You'll do your math here. You'll fill this out, and then you'll hit save and close. Once absolutely everything is uploaded to your checklist, make sure everything is correct. Our back office will kick it back if we're missing a signature, if it's not fully executed, or if you uploaded the wrong document. Just try to triple check that you're uploading the correct documents, because if you're not, then you're just delaying your payout. So just triple check. Just make sure that if you're uploading the BBA, it's the fully executed version and not just the version that was signed just by the buyer, because that happens. Sometimes you send it for signature, it's uploaded, and you think it's the fully executed version, but it's not. So you just want to triple check. So now, in order to close out your transaction, in order to get paid, what you have to do is you have two steps. The first step, once all documents are uploaded, would be to hit the action button and submit for review. You're about to submit this transaction for review. Confirm. I'm going to submit this transaction for review. As you can see, it says review requested, review requested, review requested. Now, what has been happening? All agents are thinking that once you hit review, you're done. No, there's a second step that if you don't do, our back office will not get notified that you are ready to get paid out. So you have to make sure you do both steps. This submitting for review was the first step. Your second step is going to be to go to the edit transaction. We're going to hit edit. And as you can see, you get your information about the transaction. I'm going to hit additional fields. In the additional fields section, there's a review status section that you have to update in order to get your back office to review your transaction. So what you would do is you would hit review status, ready for review. Ready for review, save. If you do not do this second step, it'll be 5 days, it'll be 6 days, it'll be 7 days, and you won't receive any kind of update on your transaction because our back office never received it on their queue. If you don't do the step, you're not going to get paid. You have to do both steps. Okay. So I'm going to show you that again. You would go to edit edit transaction. It looks like this. You have to click on additional fields, and where it says review status, you have to put ready for review, and then you would hit save. Once you do that, our back office will get it in their queue, and they will be able to review your transaction and see if anything is missing. Now, if back office finds that in this executed purchase contract, you accidentally uploaded the wrong one, like let's say this is the wrong document, I accidentally uploaded the wrong one, in this comments in activity section, you'll have a comment here from one of our team members from BoldTrail saying, hey, you uploaded the wrong document, please upload right away. And in this comments and activity section, you guys can respond to them and say, hi, let's pretend that I'm talking with Jessica. You guys can CC her or at her. I corrected the document. Please review now or something. Or if you have a question or if you want to make a note about something, you guys can do that in this comment section. Now, not just for closing out your transaction. Let's say that before even closing this out, you wanted your partner, your business partner to review this for you. Or let's say you have a mentor, or let's say you have an agent that you work with a lot and you just want to send it to them to review prior to sending it to the client for signature. You can do that as well. You can save and close the document in the transaction checklist, and then you can add whatever agent in the office at, let's say you want to add me, for example, Yolanda, please review this document for me. You would do that, and then you would hit comment. Once you hit comment, then I would get an email saying such and such person wants you to review this transaction, and it'll give me a link to your transaction, and I can see what you did so that I can help you review and see whether it's accurate or not. All right, does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? I have more people on the chat. What is the purpose of merging? The purpose of merging is if you want to send a document. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's annoying to send to the client as an agent. I think it's annoying to send 3 different signature requests virtually to a client. Then they miss a document. If you send only one e-signature request with all of your documents in there already, then there's no need to send multiple e-signatures. You send one single package with all of the documents needed to be signed by your buyer in one email. Does that make sense? That would be the purpose of merging. If you don't want to do it that way, that's totally fine. You can send separate e-signature requests, but just keep in mind that you have to tell your client, hey, I sent you 3 separate documents to sign. Please make sure that you check your inbox for 3 separate signature requests. Okay? That's the way that it would work. What else? Should the request for commission be sent 2 to 3 days prior to get paid at closing? No. Unless you're doing unless you're doing a CDA, if you're doing a CDA, then yes, then you do. But a CDA is not the same thing as the commission request form. The commission request form is totally separate. The commission request form is when you're getting your money paid to Lifestyle directly, and then Lifestyle will pay you. If you want to do a CDA where the title company is going to pay you directly, then you do need to fill out the CDA a week in advance. Jessica would need to approve it and sign it, or Roberto or any of our back office team. And once they sign it, you can send that to the title company, and then the title company will approve, and then they have their disbursement authorization to disperse to you directly at closing. So at closing, you would be receiving a check to Jacques Cadeau instead of to Lifestyle International Realty, and then the title company would send Lifestyle their portion. They would wire their portion separately. Okay, so the CDA is totally different. Now, if you wanted to do a CDA, you can. You just need to make sure you check that checklist. So if you're going to do a CDA, then what you would do is you would go to add. You see where I already have my Florida sales residential checklist? I'm going to go to add. I'm going to select a new checklist, and I'm going to look for CDA. If it's for a listing, you hit listing. If it's for a sale, new construction, you hit sell, new construction. If it's a sale residential CDA only, then it would be CDA only. The checklist is completely different. This is a checklist that you would have to submit a week or so in advance, so that the CDA can be signed by our back office team so that you can send to the title company so that it's ready by closing. Most title companies don't accept a CDA if it's 24 hours prior to closing because they've already made all the figures and they already made it out to Lifestyle. So you have to make sure that you do it beforehand. Now, when you are submitting this checklist for a CDA, you obviously are not going to have all the documents because you haven't closed yet. You would fill in everything in this checklist except for your final HUD and your wire confirmation. Those 2 things can be left blank. Everything else, though, would have to be fully added into this checklist. You would have to ask the title company for a pre-CD, and that's what you would upload to this pre-HUD, pre-Alta settlement for review. Okay? So it's a totally separate checklist that you would need to make sure that you are doing in advance in order for you to get paid directly at closing. All right, let me see if I have any other questions. Yes, always do a CD. It's the best. And for those of you who don't know, I am a transaction coordinator. So the majority of the times for the agents that I do TC work for, which are a lot of agents on here, I handle this for you. I do the CDA, I close out the transaction on BoldTrail for you. I do everything. So that you don't have to. It's a part of my service pretty much. All right. Any other questions? There's a lot to cover in BoldTrail. But I just want to make sure I'm covering everything that you guys have questions on specifically. I'm trying to see.
Question.
Absolutely.
Radio buttons, how do we get them? Like the flood disclosure that they have to choose either has or has not.
Okay.
How do I get those buttons in there?
There is no radio buttons, unfortunately. It would only be the check boxes, but I'm going to show you what that would look like. So I'm going to go into my unsorted. Let's pretend I need to send the flood disclosure to the seller. I'm going to look for FAR flood disclosure. We would hit select. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but BoldTrail doesn't have radio buttons. We would go next. We would add whoever the seller is. I'm going to add myself as the seller just in case. We're going to go next. In this particular case, it's a flood disclosure. The client has to select either or option. Something that has been working for me is it's a little bit of an extra step, but what I do is I ask the seller beforehand, hey, have you had any flooding that damaged your property? Have you have something that has filed? Ask them first because it's only 3 boxes. So in that case, what I would do is I would just put the checkbox where I know that they would select it, right? So in this case, it has 2 options. I would make this one a required. Because what I have been noticing is that when I would send it to the seller with no further explanation, a lot of them are seeing a flood disclosure for the first time. They're like, they just sign it and then they don't select anything. And then it's like, really? Like you were supposed to select it. So what I do is I make it a required checklist. Like you can make it required. I'm going to hit required, so that when they get sent the e-signature, it won't let them finish the e-signing until they select something. Unfortunately, no radio buttons. I know. We have to get on them to get that. So that would be the best way, asking them beforehand, so that they can select what's needed. For the seller's disclosure, it's different because they have a checklist and they're just going to have to select the box that pertains to it. So no need for radio buttons. But in this case, which is the best example for the flood disclosure, you would just have to ask them beforehand is what's been helping me, or you can just leave it as is and just let them know, hey, make sure you select something. Because the check boxes are already there. They just have to select it. But if you don't make it required, they can just sign the document without selecting anything. So you want to avoid that because then you're going to have to resend it again and you're going to have to explain, no, hey, you have to actually select something. So you can just make it required from the get so that you don't have that issue, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
Isn't this, when it comes to disclosures, aren't those boxes that are populated automatically set as default to needed to be signed?
No, they're not, unfortunately. At least within BoldTrail, like for example, this flood disclosure, I had to select that it was a required field. For example, I hit required for no, no, no. But if the answer was yes, then you see it's not a required field. Unless I select required, it's not a required field, at least for this flood disclosure. For the seller's disclosure, it's not required necessarily either because they can select yes, no, maybe so, I don't know kind of thing. But you do have to select that it's required, at least for this particular document, you do.
I think, in my opinion, that when it comes to these disclosures, which is important for the actual seller to have to sign, should be set to required. And we as agents should have the ability to uncheck it as a not required.
You can. This is the button right here. So let's say that you hover over the box, right? Let's say
you said it's not automatically populated as required. You have to check it.
You have to
That's
check
what I'm
it.
saying, that I feel that it should be automatically, populated as required. And you as the agent should have the ability to unrequire it because that can be throw off. I've had those issues, and that was my issue when I was
Yeah,
first doing this and send this out for disclosures. All those
yeah,
boxes were populated for the seller to sign. And he
right,
says, no, he didn't get he couldn't sign it. And I realized
right.
that that box, since Form Simplicity, I was used to doing Form Simplicity, and it automatically populated it as a required field. It was a big
Mhm.
throw off. So yeah, that was very important.
Yeah, I agree
That should
100%.
be that should be an automatic populated required. Yeah.
I agree 100%. And these are definitely things that I know our team is working on bettering. We're always, looking to improve the platform. So all of these requests and improvement suggestions are great. And we're gonna continue to advocate for them because obviously the platform in itself we can't change, but we can definitely advocate and request our changes. So I agree 100%. Thank you for that. I do agree that that's something that we can make required. And I'm sure that's an easy fix. So I'll bring it to our back office's team attention so that they could see if there's anything they can do about it. All right.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there anybody else that has any other questions? We're already at 2. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. I try to cover as much as I could. Obviously, I only did the example as if I was the buyer's agent. It's the exact same thing as if you were the listing agent or even a leasing agent if you're a tenants agent. It's the same exact thing. The only thing that changes would be your checklist. The checklist would be the only thing that would change. And if you need to import a document and add the initial boxes or signature boxes, manually, would be pretty much the only thing that changes. Let me check my chat.
Yolanda,
Um, yes.
real quick, in reference to adding an additional agent because you're working the deal with someone else, how would
Mm-hmm.
that look like?
You would simply just add them to the contacts. So example, let's say you're working with another agent, and even when you do the commission, like the commission section, you can add as a partner and you can put how it's being split. Though, just for simplicity, I would just do it on the commission request form. It's just easier. That way, if a
That's
back
fine
office needs
already.
for
Okay.
you, it's just
Okay.
easier. But just so that our back office teams knows that you guys are both working the deal together, in the contact section, you can add where it says users and contacts, add, you see, I'm the transaction owner now. I can change who I am though. Like I would put, oh, whoops, let me hit on mine. I would hit that I am the whatever buyer's agent. And then I can add someone else. Let's say you and I are working a deal together. I'm going to look for Ellie. Oh, I think you're Elizabeth.
Yes.
I'm going to add you as another buyer's agent. So then there's 2 buyer's agents. Oh, why did it just switch me? Maybe because I'm the transaction owner, that's why. But you should be able to add 2 different buyer's agents and it shows that you guys are working the deal together. That's the best way. And then not to overcomplicate it, on the commission request form, you just put in the notes, I worked with my team member on this. This person and I went 50-50, and that's the easiest way. And we're gonna
That's what
keep
I've normally done, and then I just send a follow-up email, and then
super
that's it.
easy. Yep.
Okay.
And then for somebody who asked me in the chat about the commission statement, you guys don't need to worry about that. This is the only one that says for accounting. So you guys don't need to worry about uploading anything into that portion of the checklist. That is only for accounting. That's the pay stub that you get in your email whenever you are getting ready to get paid. Once everything has been approved, you should get an email, via BoldTrail telling you, hey, this is your commission statement showing how much you earned on this deal, what your volume is, etc. All right. So nothing to worry about for the commission statement. Don't even look at it. Ignore it completely. My TC fee. Well, if you guys work with Rise Title, as many of you guys know, it's absolutely free. It's a nice perk that Rise offers to our agents. Obviously to appreciate the support that you guys give to the title company. If you guys don't use Rise and are using a different title company, my TC fee is $350 for lifestyle agents. Right? If you need me to do more, obviously it's a little bit more, but if I come in through transaction from being under contract, then it's $350. Any other questions? Do you have a special form for brokerage fee when the listing agent is going to share the brokerage fee? Nope. You just put it on the commission request form. You just have to say such and such agent is receiving this amount. And then you would pretty much get in contact with Jessica at that point and let her know, hey, I need to pay a referral fee to this particular agent. Obviously, we would need their documents such as their W-9. We would need those type of documents. So you would essentially do everything on your commission request form. I am logged into the BoldTrail and I do not see any of the comments. Okay. I don't know what you're seeing on your end, Deanna, but where you would see your comments would be right here. Let's say that you have your checklist already imported. Whenever you select a document in your checklist, there's a comments and activities section right here in your right-hand corner. Okay. This is where you would see it. And you have one for every single thing of the check, every single document of the checklist. All right. Everything is on here. You see? Let me know if you don't see it. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat for you guys in case you guys have any other questions. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions that you guys have. I'm going to try to answer the last couple questions in the chat and then I'll let you guys go. But again, I'm going to give you guys my number. That way you guys can always call me if you guys need additional help. Do we have the option of bringing cashier's checks to the brokerage office instead of using title? Yes, I wouldn't recommend it though. I would highly suggest that you do it the right way and have it in an escrow account just because you never know if something could go wrong in a transaction and you want to have your paper trail. You want to, you don't want it just sitting in somebody's drawer, you technically can, but it's best. Well, I don't suggest it. I just don't suggest it overall. I suggest that you put it in an escrow account, whether that be the listing agent's escrow account or whether it be your escrow account, whoever you're representing. Some kind of escrow account is better than none, in my opinion. So I would highly recommend that you do that. Lifestyle Title does hold rental escrows for rentals. But for sales, 100% no. It has to be in an escrow account. For rentals, sometimes people get away with not putting it in an escrow account at all and just either giving it directly to the landlord. But I wouldn't recommend you hold on to a cashier's check. I just don't. If you lose it, yeah, there's just so many things that could go wrong with that. Don't do it. What's the name of your title company and do we specifically request you? The name of the title company, I'm gonna put everything in there, is Rise Title. I'm going to put all the information in the chat right now. Rise Title, the email specifically for that title company would be shana@risetitleclosings.com. Then my information, I'm going to put in here as well. I'm going to put my number and my email so that you guys have it and you guys can screenshot it. And again, you guys are more than welcome to text me after this if you guys have more questions. No question is too dumb. No question is a wrong question. You guys can always answer. Yep. Phoenix and Title and Escrow LLC is also free. There you go. Some escrow is better than none. As long as you're using one, just cover your butt. You always want to make sure that you are holding it in some kind of escrow. Does Rise charge for holding escrow because New World charges $200? So Rise does charge for holding rental escrows just because of the amount of work. Sometimes you have to send the FedEx to the clients or whatever the case. So they do charge a $100 fee. However, if you continuously give them business for sales, then they lower the fee to 50. And that is something that you can let your client pay. You can let them know, hey, there is a processing fee for holding this in the escrow account. Overall, it is to protect their funds. So you just let your client know you're going to send your escrow deposit of the first month's rent for rentals, plus the $50 fee or $100 fee, depending on whether you do or do not use Rise. It's pretty much blank. Doesn't someone need to give me access? Deanna, just text me after this so that I can see what's going on. So I can try to help you, okay? Because I would have to see what you're seeing on your side so I can best help. I think I covered everything. If I'm missing anything, you guys can let me know. If there's a question that you absolutely want me to help answer before we log off. Does the agent I'm sharing commission with have to do something on their side, or is it enough with the commit? That's it. With the commission request form should be more than enough. If it's an agent from an outside company, then you may need to request their W-9 and their wire instructions and all that good stuff to send them the money. You need their referral agreement. If it's an agent within the company, then you don't need to do anything else. You just put on there, I am cooperating with this other lifestyle agent. This is their name, and we already have their information, so we're good. All right, awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for logging in. I hope this was helpful, and we're gonna try to keep doing more of these because I know that there's so much stuff within BoldTrail that is just a lot. So we're gonna try to keep doing these. I try to cover as much as I could. And if you guys want to see more of these, please let us know. We're definitely working on trying to get more of these BoldTrail trainings for you guys so that you guys can just become pros, and we're gonna try to get those improvement suggestions that you guys talked about implemented into the platform. All right. Any other questions before we go? I think we're good. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. This is going to be recorded, so if you guys need to go back and look at it, you guys can find it. Once normally the recorded trainings are up in our school in our classroom section under our trainings. So keep an eye out. And we also, for those of you who don't know, we have a YouTube channel where we normally have our trainings as well. So if you just look us up on YouTube and look up Lifestyle International Realty, right there, Lifestyle International Realty, we have all of our trainings up here. So if there's ever any trainings that you guys need to go back, you're like, oh, she was going a little too fast, or I want to rewind this and see it again, you guys can always go to YouTube or school where we upload all of our recorded trainings, okay? Thank you guys so much again for
Thank you so
joining.
much.
Alrighty, guys, take care.
You too.